Okay, thank you everyone for joining us for the licensing subcommittee for Travelodge in Wimbledon. The first order of business is to appoint the chair of the licensing subcommittee, and if I could ask for a nominee from one of our councillors and then seconded.
I'm Councillor Michael Brunt, and I nominate Councillor Martin Welton to chair this meeting.
Hello, I'm Councillor Stephen Mercier, and I'm happy to second that nomination.
Thank you.
And I'm willing to accept that nomination.
Thank you very much, councillors. Over to you, Councillor Welton.
Good afternoon. Can I welcome all of you here to this licensing subcommittee into the application for the Travelodge in Wimbledon. I just wanted to obviously take you through in terms of the processes. All parties to the hearing will have a copy of the procedures. Just to confirm, obviously, the parties to the hearing, I've got representing Travelodge, I've got Andy Woods and Ben Dangerfield. As a party to the hearing, I have Weira, and the representative on behalf of Weira, Polly Joseph. Is Polly Joseph on the call?
Yes, I'm on the call.
Thank you. And just to advise, obviously, we've got the legal advisor, Guy Bishop, the licensing officer, Tony Hawkes, and the clerk to the committee, Richard Seedhouse. In terms of the processes, I'll obviously ask now the legal advisor to inform those present that subcommittee had a briefing prior to the hearing on the process and clarification for aspects of the application.
Yep, the committee meets for a few moments before a hearing, just to understand what they're looking at in terms of the sort of application they're facing. As part of that, if questions are raised, then I'll answer them, but no legal advice as such was provided at this stage. Deliberations will involve that.
And can you also confirm that there's been no requests for adjournments to the hearing?
There was one previously, but not today.
Not today. Thank you. I'll go on to the licensing officer to advise whether there's any technical issues they feel should be brought to their attention in terms of withdrawal of objectors. We understand that the police representation has been withdrawn as that condition has been accepted. Could the licensing officer confirm that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. The police have withdrawn their representation, and the conditions that they've agreed with the applicant are contained in your agenda papers.
Okay, thank you. The next part of the agenda is obviously I'll now allow the applicant to present their case. Following that, there'll be an opportunity for questions to be asked by interested parties to the hearing. That's Polly Joseph on behalf of Weira, followed by members of the subcommittee. Following on from that, we will then move to the interested parties, and we'll all be allowed to make a presentation, and they're allowed to be questioned by representatives from the Travelodge as the applicant, followed by members of the subcommittee, and then we will move on to closing statements. So firstly, I'd like to invite Travelodge.
Chair, could I just raise one point? Do we need to clarify on the title page the actual address, physical address? Currently says 27 to 29 Hartfield Road.
Mr. Hawkes?
Yes, I'm happy to clarify that. The address in the application is 27 to 29 at Hartfield Road. The overall development site is 27 to 39, but the applicant has since confirmed that the correct postal address that's been assigned to Travelodge is 27 to 29. So the application is correct, but the overall development site covers a wider range of addresses.
I see.
Thank you
for that clarification. Yes.
And without further ado, we'll now move on to Travelodge and Mr. Woods.
Thank you, councillors. I don't propose to address you for too long. Any questions on operational matters, I'm sure Ben will be able to answer. Any other questions, hopefully I'll be able to assist. I did send in some supplementary papers And there are only 10 pages of that, which I think have been circulated. And if you've had chance to read the background to Travelodge, then I don't propose to say a great deal more than that. In summary, this is an application for an alcohol license for a cafe bar in a hotel. The hotel is very nearly finished. It intends to open soon. There's 177 bedrooms in the hotel. It will be a Travelodge brand, which I suspect may be known to members. £15 million investment with 56 new jobs. There are seats for 90 people in the cafe bar. The Travelodge cafe bars don't provide entertainment. Noise won't be an issue because we have all the bedrooms above and adjacent to the cafe bar. The conditions which have been proposed and agreed are set out on pages 11 to 14 of your agenda. They are conditions proposed by Travelodge, conditions agreed with trading standards, and conditions agreed with the police. And as a result of those conditions, we have no objections from any responsible authority, no police issue on crime and disorder, no environmental health issue on noise, and no licensing issue on any policy matters. We are restricting non-residents as per the hours in the police conditions. So after 11 PM Monday to Thursday and midnight on Friday to Sunday on the license, non-residents will not get served. In fact, non-residents will not be able to get access to the hotel. Access to the hotel at that time would be restricted to those with a key card, and that's the only way in which you would get in. And the alcohol sales in Travelodge cafe bars are not particularly great. It's an essential part of any hotel to be able to sell alcohol to somebody who goes into the cafe bar or to residents, but general sales would be well under 5% of the turnover of that particular hotel. Not a great deal of alcohol will be sold, but it is essential to Travelodge as a hotel. And the way in which the cafe bar is set out, there's nothing that attracts anybody other than somebody who's a resident or somebody who might want to have a quiet meeting in there. There's no razzmatazz that might be associated with other pubs or bars or anything like that. Councillors, that is the application. It's an application for a Travelodge cafe bar. The cafe bar itself is on the first floor. The lobby is on the first floor. Obviously, you need to enter from the ground floor. I think the plans did show two other potential leisure units on the ground floor, but I've confirmed to Tony that they're not part of this application. That's not to do with us. We are just looking for the red-lined area, which is the cafe bar on the first floor. That is the application. Ben and I are here for any questions.
Okay, we'll move on then to we're as an interested party. Do you have any questions you wish to ask, Polly Joseph?
Yes, I have a couple of questions if I could.
Could you put your camera on, please? We do ask that people put their cameras on when they speak.
Well, I've appeared before and I haven't needed to, and I don't see why that's a requirement, particularly now that you live stream.
I'm asking you to put the camera on politely.
Well, personally, I would rather not, Mr.
I think we should have people speaking in public to show their face. I think it's my requirement.
I hear what you say.
Yes, it's my requirement that I'm asking you to put your camera on, please.
I don't believe that that's a lawful requirement, Mr. Ruffin. Are you saying you won't hear me now?
I want you to put your camera on, please.
I will do so, but I am doing so under objection.
Okay, the objection's noted.
There is absolutely no legal requirement to do this.
I am the chair of the hearing. So
I hear that, but there is no legal requirement. You should look at what you sent out, because there is no requirement to do so. It clearly states otherwise.
Well, I'm asking you to put your camera on.
I hear what you say, and I will try and organise myself now. But I object to this because I don't think.
Objection noted.
With the greatest of respect, I don't think I have the facility to do anything other than show my home, and I find that rather objectionable.
Well, we just like that we do ask
this.
people to, obviously make their face known when they are speaking to a hearing of the council.
Well, I've appeared before lots, as I say, lots of committees.
Okay.
And I've never been asked.
Then I'll move on without, if you don't want, just what's your question, please?
Thank you. My questions are two things. Can residents or members of the public buy alcohol from the cafe bar to consume off the premises? And the second thing is, how does Travelodge ensure that non-residents leave the cafe bar at the designated time? I was slightly confused by the statement as to access. Does it mean that you simply can't get access after 10:30, but if you happen to be there already, you can stay, or are non-residents asked to leave at 10:30? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And can I ask Travelodge to respond, Andy Woods?
Yeah, non-residents would not be allowed to stay in the premises. The management and staff would go around those people who are in the cafe bar and ask to see a card confirming you are staying in the hotel. And if you don't have a card, you are asked to leave. And I don't think, Ben, that I don't think we sell off sales, but I don't know if you want to answer that, Ben. I don't think we do we?
We don't know. No.
So there'll be no off sales.
Right. And then just to clarify the access, so as Andy says, anyone who's in the bar at that time would be asked for a confirmation number or the name of their booking or the key card. The doors to the hotel they're locked at 10 o'clock, and you can then only access with a key card after that time.
Thank you.
Sorry, presumably you can only get a new round of drinks if you're showing a card to do that. However you pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have further questions you wish to raise?
No, that concludes very helpful answers. Thank you very much.
No, Chair. Do members of the subcommittee have any questions they wish to raise? Councillor
Yes, please, Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Gentlemen from Travelodge, could you, whichever of you prefers, give me an idea of how your offer will operate, particularly at night? Firstly, generally, I'm interested in the offer because my familiarity with other Travelodges is a lot of them sound a lot more simple than this is going to be. So I'd be grateful for an idea of how it compares. There's one just up the road here in Morden. So I'm familiar with that, and that's very different from what this is going to be. And then in relation to the service that you're going to provide out of hours, I know that you're not planning to provide hot food, but will you be providing food? What are you going to be doing between, say, 11 o'clock at night and 10 in the morning when you've got a license?
Do you want to pick those up, Ben? Are you okay to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of a food offer, there would be a restricted sort of light supper menu available, which would generally be perhaps pizzas, that kind of thing through the night. At our out of hours service would normally revolve around that. Perhaps people have a last drink before going to bed, have a pizza, and that would be it. In terms of the offer differing to any other Travelodge, I don't know of any difference to any other Travelodge with a bar cafe offer that's different. So apologies, I'm not sure that it is different.
Can I just ask for clarification on that? You obviously said pizza, but pizza is hot food, unless you intend to sell cold food. Just could you give a clarification on that?
Yes, Tony had raised this point with me, and
yes,
I'm sure you don't need late night refreshment if you're giving hot food to people who are staying in the hotel. It's only if it's not to the residents, which it won't be.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hawkes, you want to clarify that?
Yes, I was just going to state what Andy Woods has told you, that hotels are exempt from the need for late night refreshment, and that's to supply hot food to residents staying at the hotel. They would only need late night refreshment to supply members of the public who aren't residents.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Do members of the subcommittee have any further questions they wish to raise? Councillor Brunt.
No, the points that I was going to raise were covered in the questions we've had already, in terms of access and how people will be escorted off the premises, and then the card restriction for people coming in. So that answers my questions.
I have no further questions I wish to raise as chair. Shall we move on then to the interested parties, and I will allow, obviously, Polly Joseph from WERA to make a representation to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Licence Officer's report refers to the Council's special policy paragraph 9, as the Travelodge lies within an area where there is a concentration of licensed premises. The key areas that WERA wishes to address to the subcommittee are the cumulative impact on the town centre zone and the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises. The applicant states that the responsible authorities have not objected to the licence, subject to conditions accepted by the applicant. However, it is for the subcommittee to determine the licence application and appropriate conditions, having heard and considered all representations. WERA recognises that this is a hotel premises and that Travelodge wish to operate a licensed cafe bar primarily for hotel residents. WERA is not objecting to the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises, subject to clarification on the times permitted for sales to non-residents, which I will address later. However, if the licence permits the sale of alcohol, whether to hotel residents or the public, for consumption off the premises, WERA considers this will have a cumulative impact on the town centre area and will not promote the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. On cumulative impact, there are already 4 supermarkets within the Wimbledon town centre located close to these premises where alcohol can be purchased until 11 p.m. and in one case, a 24-hour retail store located within 2 or 3 minutes of the hotel. WERA does not believe there is any justification for adding yet another outlet for off sales, even if this were restricted to hotel residents. Within 1 minute walk of the hotel, there are 2 public space areas and the town's transport interchange, train, tube, tram and buses. There is a public house and 2 bars proximate to the hotel and others in the immediate vicinity of the transport links. Allowing off sales at any time adds to the potential for crime and disorder in Wimbledon town centre, and in our view does not accord with the council's policy on cumulative impact and the licensing objectives under the Act. Accordingly, WERA suggests a simple condition that prohibits any sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises. As the applicant has said that they are not selling off sales, they're not intended as part of the operation, presumably this can be agreed. Turning now to the times for sale of alcohol on the premises to members of the public, these are now revised in the application as Monday to Thursday 10 to 11, Friday, Saturday and Sunday 10 to midnight. However, the applicant in reply to the questions has clarified that non-residents will not be permitted to buy alcohol after 10:30, which is helpful because WERA considers a Sunday end time of midnight for sale to the public inappropriate in an area where the ground floor entrance of the hotel borders a residential street and suggested an earlier time, in fact of 11 p.m. WERA does not object to the sale of alcohol for consumption on the premises to residents 24 hours at every day, subject to presentation of a room card. The absence of model conditions in Merton means that the police have drafted some conditions, but these have inconsistencies on timing. and as mentioned, do not distinguish between on and off sales. These conditions need to be redrafted to refer to consumption on the premises and to amend the timing inconsistencies. Also note an inaccuracy on the CCT condition that refers to the ground floor licensed area, whereas as the applicant has already stated, the cafe bar is on the first floor and CCTV is required at ground floor entrance, lift, first floor and other areas specified by the police. We hope that WERA's comments are useful to the subcommittee in considering this application and look forward to a reasoned decision. Thank you.
Is there any questions from Travelodge they'd like to ask of Polly Joseph and WERA?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Is there any questions from members of the subcommittee they'd wish to ask of WERA?
No, I have no questions other than my understanding is that you're asking for a no sales policy, but that's already included in the application, as I understand it. Am I correct?
Well, that's not how I've read the application, and the conditions don't make that clear at all.
I believe Mr. Woods said that just now. Is that correct?
He answered a question, but he didn't. He said they weren't doing it in reply to the question.
Yeah.
So that's why I assume they'll accept that as a condition.
Will, yes.
Thank you. Is there any further questions members of the subcommittee would like to ask?
No questions from me.
Okay, we'll then go on to the licensing officer, whether they've got any comments or clarifications they wish to make. Mr. Hawkes.
Hey, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points. As with all applications, there are a number of written representations that also need to be considered, even if those parties aren't present today.
Yes.
And the application, when it was originally made, was for on and off sales. But I believe we've heard today that the application is now amended just for on sales only. There's no proposal to sell off sales. Perhaps Mr. Woods can address that in his closing remarks, just to clarify what is being applied for. And then we've also covered that the late night refreshment is not required for hotels to serve their residents. It is only required for members of the public.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any comments the legal advisor would wish to add, please?
No, I don't think I can add anything that hasn't been said already.
Okay, we'll then move on to closing statements. So I'll invite Polly Joseph from WERA as an interested party to make a closing statement.
I have nothing further to add. Travelodge have accepted restriction on off sales, and the timings need to be clarified because the conditions drafted by the police are just very unclear. So I note that Mr. Woods is going to make it clear in his final comments, and no doubt the conditions will be drafted accordingly.
Okay, thank you. I will now move to Andy Woods on behalf of Travelodge to make a closing statement and to obviously those points that have been raised.
Thank you, Chair. I don't propose to repeat in any great detail what I said earlier. I'm happy to confirm so Mr. Bishop and Mr. Hawkes can make a note that we agree to no off sales. We submitted what was probably a lazy but general application. It did tick both. There's never an intention to have off sales in this site, so we're happy to have no off sales. In terms of the terminal hour for non-residents, I'm happy to agree 11 p.m. on Sunday as well. So I think that would be 11 p.m. Sunday to Thursday and midnight Friday on Saturday. The reality is our practice is that at 10:30 we would not be letting non-residents into the premises, but that little flexibility in the license for any special occasion would be welcome. So I'm happy to have 11 o'clock on a Sunday, and in general, as the councillors have picked up and Polly Joseph has fairly said, that this is a fairly restricted application. We're aware, obviously, of the policy. It's just for the cafe bar on the first floor, which will have fairly limited alcohol sales, predominantly, but not always for residents. And although the extent of the alcohol sales are not significant, having the cafe bar license for a hotel is obviously very, very important to us, and all of the other conditions which have been agreed will be complied with. So I would ask you to consider granting the application, but subject to the no off sales, 11 p.m. On a Sunday, and on all of the other conditions that have been agreed. And Polly Joseph is also right that the condition on CCTV, the cafe bar is on the ground, is on the first floor. So any CCTV condition should refer to the red lined area on the first floor. So unless Mr. Bishop or Mr. Hawkes have any points of clarification, those are my submissions.
None.
Thank you. What will happen next is that the subcommittee will retire to private session, having considered all the evidence presented to us, and obviously all the written representations which have been made to the subcommittee. We will be joined by the legal office and the clerk to the committee. Just to let everyone here present that you should receive a written copy of the decision notice within 5 working days of the hearing. And can I thank everyone for attending here this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.